All right, we're back. HSC Podcast 155. Talk through the NBA draft, NBA finals. Of course, we got to do a quick NFL update. There's not a lot happening in NFL right now as far as, it's you're right in the middle of OTA, some off-season stuff. May see some moves coming around, like there's some cuts happening, some people signing. But more than anything, I kind of just, want to go over our top five. One of the things we were talking about today, which is what's happening in the receiving core, wide receivers, tight ends, who's got the best receiving cores out there. So we're going to do top five NFL receiving core, and then I got another second question for us. So let's jump right into that. Before we jump into that, we talked a little bit about this. Is the NFL with, now Justin Tucker has a now suspension. We had the huge Deshaun Watson thing, with these massage therapists. Like, is it time to just like cut out massage therapy for the NFL players?
Yeah, I would think so. They or have it sanctioned in the not going to private massage therapists.
Right,
They need to stop that because yeah, I'm not going to get into any if it is true or not true, but
right.
you're you're setting yourself up if you go to these private places if you're an NFL player. So
So,
stay away
or
and
it's time for the
keep your
team.
hands to yourself. You learn that when you're a kid.
Right.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Shouldn't it be just like the teams should like now set this up for the players? And
Yes.
that should be the sanction, right? Like
Right.
you have a
Yes.
you have team therapists, players have to stay within that, and does that'll eliminate this, right? Because this is not going to go. It's not going to get less, right? It's only going to get more,
Yeah. This is kind of crazy. Yeah. Now it's two, right?
right? And
Once it's like an anomaly. Once you get more, then it's a pattern.
yeah, and then you're going to have well, and not to say because you don't want to play the victim card. It's the victims are in the wrong, but there's also going to you always have nefarious people that are going to come out on that side too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's better safe than just go
Better
through your
safe than
team.
sorry, right?
Yes. And keep your hands to yourself.
Right. Well, that's the number one rule. So
Dealing with,
that was kind of a big story. And anyway, Justin Tucker got the 10-week suspension, but as you said, he didn't have a great year. He's not really signed, so doesn't really matter that much.
yeah. NFL doesn't care about you if you're not any good.
Right. If you're
I'm
good, do
sorry.
whatever you want.
You're not any, I mean, the kickers especially. Once you start missing kicks, even if you've been good for a while, they're like, ah, we're done with you.
Right.
There's no leeway.
Yeah, not at the kicker position. It's such a pivotal position.
Hmm.
I mean, how many times do kickers decide games?
And how many did he lose for him last year,
Yeah.
too? It's
Even
like,
though he's won a lot over the years.
yeah, it's like your job is to do this. We don't need to hear like you're a kicker. It's like Peyton Manning says, you're just a stupid kicker, right? We don't need to hear any off-field issues from a kicker.
Right. It's the last thing you want.
Yeah, you're not a diva wide receiver. You're a kicker.
Speaking of wide receivers, so one of the things that, I was looking through the last couple weeks, and because the NFL is slow and it's not the busiest time for NFL, um, I was watching a couple podcasts and hearing people talk about, who has the best wide receiver cores in the NFL. And kind of as I dug in, like it's not an easy question if you look at it.
Yeah, well, I was like, okay, I'm going to do my research, and I looked at some tops, And the problem I had with a lot of them was, it's like, this is all receivers. This isn't just because you have two good receivers.
Right. Well, so i.e. Cincinnati, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins, but how good is your whole crew at that in that sense? And your tight end is well last year Jaceki,
Yeah, I think it's still Gesicki, right?
right? How good is he? That is he really, right? I don't. As I looked at this, like I have a hard time thinking that, but it's similar when you talk about the Eagles with AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goddard. But you also throw in Johan Dotson in there.
Right. Yeah, that's why that's the difference between those two. You have to, like, for me, it came down to your third receiver on a lot of these teams.
Right. Or the quality of multiple. So Tampa Bay came up high for me as well.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, they're my number one.
Okay.
They've got five receivers.
Right. Well, when you bring in a good rookie like Ekuba and you already have Evans and Godwin, and then of course Jalen McMillan,
And Palmer.
yeah, and Palmer, those are, you have a solid receiving core there, top to bottom. So is it strength weighted in the top, or is it better to be weighted, you know, throughout your whole group?
Right.
Which for me, it's another reason that I look at Minnesota and you're like, how good is Minnesota, right? Well, you've got Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson,
And Rondell Moore.
and now Rondell Moore. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Detroit Lions, St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta.
But who's
Pretty
their
good.
third receiver, then?
Right.
Are we going to just keep naming them, or are we going to list? Because you're naming all my teams here, Steve.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put together our top five.
Okay.
So we're going to have to agree.
All right.
So the Bears, right? DJ Moore, Roman Duze, Cole Kmet. You bring in Colston Loveland, and then Luther Burden.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty solid as well. And then, yeah, you keep going down.
Well,
Commanders, McLaurin. They bring in Debo Samuel. They got Noah Brown, Zach Ertz.
you haven't mentioned one that I'm super high on, and that's the Texans.
Okay,
Nico Collins, Jalen Higgins, Noel, Christian Kirk, Tank
and
Dell,
Tank
and
Dell.
Dalton Schultz.
Right.
I mean, they've got six.
They're very deep,
Yeah.
very deep in that. Well, let's work our way down from the top then. We'll make it easier than trying to work our way from top down. So number one, if you got to pick a number one, who you taking?
I have the Bucks.
Oh, I mean, I think I can agree with that. I think we will take the Bucks. So number one, wide receiver because they're deeper, right?
Mm-hmm. And Evans and Godwin, when healthy, can be two of the great best in, I mean,
Well, we
go up
already know
to the
Evans
top
can
two.
be, right? We know Evans can be. Godwin needs to step up. But they're very deep behind them, which is
Mm-hmm.
good for them, meaning that you can't double team them all the time.
Right.
So I'll go with Bucks. I like Bucks there. Number two. This is a tough one. I had Philly here, but they're Johan Dotson at the three helps me put them there
I have Philly also.
because they do have that third receiver.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other teams don't. Like so the Minnesota, the Cincinnati, like just don't have that solid third that you want to see in that. So we got Tampa Bay, we got Philly, and this is where it really got hard for me personally because I think there's a lot of teams out there, and maybe this is a you probably have the Texans here,
Yeah.
and you're probably right. So I'm gonna default to the Texans here.
Because it's not front loaded, but it's deep.
It is deep, right? But Nico Collins is pretty good.
Right.
So you have one great receiver, and then you've got three or four other really good receivers between tight end and receiver.
Yeah.
So I can agree with that. Number four, I kind of like Minnesota here, but I also like the Bears here.
I got Minnesota. Just because, yeah, I think Rondell Moore.
Yeah, he gives them that third, and Jordan May or well, Jordan Mason's a running back. Ty Felton, not great, but T.J. Hawkinson's a really good tight end. And so when you talk about one, two at receiver and a really solid tight end, they're probably a little bit better there. So we got Minnesota at four.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, then you might have to go Detroit at five.
Well, the problem I have with the Bears is Loveland, Burden are rookies, and Adunze is still potential. You know what I
Right.
mean?
He's untested. It's a lot of potential weapons, though. The problem is if Loveland and Burden come out and play well, now you have
Yeah.
five really good receivers.
Unless they trade Komet, you never know, too.
Right. I kind of like the Commanders too, but he's just not a solid,
Mm.
just receiver. What about Jacksonville?
Well, I was
They're,
thinking of Jacksonville, but it's just,
it's really just the two. They're kind of the
yeah.
Bengals, right?
Yeah, because they lost Ingram.
They're just a younger version of the Bengals.
Yeah. You know what's weird is, and I'm looking at this one list and they have them at 21st. I'm like, really? And you're going to hate this. What about the Packers?
Oh, I definitely have the Packers high on my list.
Because, I mean, seriously, you got like they're all interchangeable. You got
They're
Reed, you
very
got
deep,
Watson, Dobbs, and
right?
Golden now, and Tucker Kraft. And then they got another who's was it a Musgrove or Luke Musgrove, right?
Musgrave, yeah.
Musgrave. They got double tight end and
Hmm.
like four receivers that can just one of them can take over a game.
Yeah, you got Dobbs, you got Reed, you got Watson. Now they get Golden.
Yeah.
You got Kraft and Musgrave. Does that put them up to five though?
I don't know. It's and because also then it's like Chase and Higgins are so good,
Right.
and Gasecki
And
is pretty decent tight end,
and
but they
Jasecki's
don't
not
have a
bad at all.
third.
I mean, I think I gotta go Cincinnati at 5 because look, yeah, you're right. Second's not that bad, but Chase and Higgins are so top tier that
Yeah.
they really overcome that. Even if they don't have a third, they still have a good tight end, and you're talking about two of the most dominant receivers. So I'm saying Bengals at 5.
Yeah, I don't even know who their third is. Is it Andre?
Yeah,
I'm not going to even pronounce his last name.
I don't even know if they have a third right now. I mean, I'm sure they do, but let's see. The thing is like, how do you deal with Higgins and Chase consistently? Yeah, they really have no one else.
Wait a second. Is he back? Did Tyler Boyd sign back with the Bengals?
I mean, he's not on their current roster, but maybe. I don't see any transactions for him.
Okay, maybe this is all.
Yeah, it's really hard because regardless, I think I'm still it's hard to get away from Higgins and Chase.
Mm, it's so weird. Yeah. So this is saying Boyd's not back, but then something else was saying he was. But yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Plus, they just got paid, both of them. So,
Right. Now it's time to play.
yep.
So I'm going with Cincinnati there. I'd like to choose the Bears, but I can't. They're untested.
When the Raiders trade for McLaurin,
Right. So that's our top 5 there. So we got Tampa, we got Philly, we got Minnesota or Houston or Minnesota.
I think it was the
Hu-
Texans, then
Houston, then Minnesota, then
the
Cincinnati.
Bengals.
So that's not bad. So last NFL question here, and then we'll get to our movie review. The most bruising NFL running back that you've ever seen. And there's a list that you got to choose from. Mike
So
Allstott,
I can't just say Earl Campbell.
he's not on the list. Mike Allstott, Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson, Jerome Bettis, Franco Harris, Larry Zonka, Christian Okoye, Jim Brown.
Well, I never really saw Jim Brown play, and I've only seen highlights of Zonka and Franco. For me, then out of that list, I hate the team, but I got to go the Nigerian Nightmare, Christian Okoye.
Christian Okoye. I mean, I'd love to see an Earl Campbell on this list because, again, it's the same as watching Jim Brown and Larry Zonka. It's just you watch the highlights and
Yeah.
they're crazy, right? But you're right. We watched Christian Okoye live, and man, it's pretty brutal.
When it was him and Barry Word together, oh
Yeah.
geez.
Although Mike Allstott,
Allstott was brutal too.
yeah, when you're just talking about head down, running people over, it's hard not to go with Okoye, but I'm going with Allstott. There's so many times you just watch them, you're just running people over and like, man, guy's like a train.
Mhm.
But I mean, all of these guys obviously are bruising running backs, and that's the part I miss about the NFL.
Yeah.
Guys like these guys on this list.
Well, it's like, now it's like you said, it's Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, right? I mean, those are your bruisers.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of that at all. So yeah, you go Koye. I'm going Allstott. That's our picks there. All right, well we'll wrap up NFL there. It's a quick NFL night, but there's a lot more to come on NFL. So we'll jump into movie reviews here in just a second.